Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Just want to make sure the volume is correct. Okay. So we are on verse 18 of chapter 5. I had explained everything, but we didn't get a chance to read Swamiji's commentary. So that's what we are going to do today. Any volunteers to read this? Okay, then if not, then Meena ji or Anil ji, one of you have to read who has a blue book. Meena ji, you want to read?
I'll read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before you go, so that we have a connection. So we were talking about verse 17 said, intellect absorbed in that, their self-being, that established in that, with that for their supreme goal. That sounds confusing anyway. They go whence there is no return, their sins dispelled by knowledge. He's talking about that state. When you reach that state, then their sins means all the dirts of the mind, their mind becomes very pure. And that person sees everywhere in the world, same substratum or same consciousness pervades everything. And from that perspective, he has an equal eye upon everything. That's the whole theme. And now let's go and read it.
Sages look with an equal eye upon a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility, on a cow, on an elephant, and even on a dog and an outcast. The wise cannot but see and recognize the same presence of divinity everywhere. The ocean has no difference in feeling for different waves. Gold cannot recognize itself as different in different pieces of ornaments. From the standpoint of mud, all mud parts are the same. Similarly, an egoless man, having recognized himself to be God, can find in no way any distinction in the outer world of names and forms. The distinction generally recognized are all the distinctions of the containers. Man to man, there may be differences in form, shape, and color of the body, or the nature of the mind, or the subtlety of the intellect. But as far as life is concerned, it is the same everywhere at all times.
Okay, so it's talking about that highest state. So we should not get confused in the Vyahavar as well as this. Vyahavar may, obviously we need to treat people differently, because if the guru comes or some little baby comes, even though their atma is the same, but Vyahavar maybe we do differently. But what happens is when you see this through the atma, everyone, you're not going to do anything wrong to anybody. You will not have that anger, jealousy, frustration, those kind of things, that we have a problem with when we see other people. And even if somebody has done it wrong, you will be more compassionate towards that person and fixing him. Even, you are in a position that you have to say, it could be work, it could be home, it could be with friends, that you have to say something negative. You're going to say it more gently and in a better way rather than, frustration. And also that's the whole idea over here. So we have to just remember that.
Therefore, it is said in this stanza that the self-realized cast an equal eye on Brahmin endowed with scholarship coupled with humility, on a cow, on an elephant, on a dog, or on a pariah. Everywhere he realizes the presence of the same truth, whatever be the container.
So I had explained, why they used all these things, different kinds of animals, and when they say elephant, then it's elephant and the ant, both, are big or small, and cow is very docile, and then also Brahmana, who's, endowed with humility and knowledge and all that, and also a dog and a dog eater also. So that far it's telling you to go. So even if, sometimes people get very upset about, oh my god, why that person eat meats, this and that, and they get, "Oh, I don't want to even sit next to them, this and that," because that's what their culture is. They grew up in it. So you got to just have a compassion. They don't know any better. Maybe if they were born in a different family, they would have been different. That kind of compassion comes. So that we have to just remember those kind of things. There is no good and bad. It just is in the world, and you have to accept everything.
A rich man's son, after his father's death, came to bad times, and he at last decided that he would dispose of the golden idol of Hanumanji, which the father had left in the house. He took it to the goldsmith, who broke it into pieces, weighed the gold in the idol, tested it, and paid the price. After a few days, the spendthrift again took the Lakshmana idol to the same goldsmith, who again smashed the idol, tested the gold, weighed it, and paid the price. Now, for the third time, when the young man was in trouble, he took the idol of Shri Ramji to the same goldsmith. The trader in gold had no hesitation at all, and as before, smashed the Shri Rama idol, carefully tested the quality of the gold, weighed it, and paid the price. But when the amount was placed in the young man's hand, he started protesting that Lord Ramachandra ji should not be paid at the same rate as the other idols. The goldsmith said, "My dear sir, I did not purchase your Ramji, Lakshmanji, or Hanumanji. My profession is to test and pay for the gold." The wise goldsmith added, "And if you think that your Ramji is more sacred, I have no objection to your taking away Ramchandraji with you, but give me same weight of gold."
So you saw, this is a very amazing example, that because he gave purposely that example because people get so sentimental about this, but he's saying from the goldsmith's perspective, it's all the same. It's not any different. So after we see this, we say, oh, now I understand what they mean by it,
Yeah. The gold-seeing goldsmith considers but the gold in all forms. He cannot see the distinction of Rama gold from Sita gold, or the Lakshmana gold from Hanuman gold. Whatever be the form, it is all gold to him. The self-realized sage, after his experience of the inner divinity, sees nothing but the same spirit everywhere, and therefore to him a man of knowledge and humility, a dog or an elephant or a dog eater are all different containers containing the same truth.
So he couldn't have, said in a better way, the most powerful example he gave.
Equal vision is the hallmark of realization. The perfected cannot make distinctions based upon likes and dislikes. In and through all forms and situations, he sees the expressions of the same dynamic truth, which he experiences as his own self.
So here, this is another very powerful thing, that it's the what he experiences as his own self. That's where he sees everything. That is the most important thing. That's why he has this, compassion and all that, and he sees the whole world as one. Because that is otherwise, if you again feel, oh, my Atma is Brahman, but then you don't see in the rest of the universe, again there is a problem. Or you vice versa. You just see there, but you don't see it within yourself. So it has to be complete. This knowledge is complete when you see this your own self everywhere. That's what it is.
Shankara, in his commentary on this stanza, quotes Gautama's Smriti, which says that it is not only sinful if we do not respect those whom we must respect, but it is equally sinful if we respect those whom we should not respect. Thus, from the standpoint of the Smriti's declaration, to respect the dog as much as the Brahmin, or to respect a Brahmana only as much as we generally respect a dog, would both be sin indeed. In order to show that it is not so, the following stanza is given.
So even if somebody has a doubt, because this talking about Vyahavar, this Gautam Smriti is obviously talking of a Vyahavar. From that perspective, he's saying that it's a sin if you just treat everybody equally. But then there's one more reason given if somebody didn't understand how they are seeing substratum, and how there is a word nirdosh is going to be used in the next verse, because in the deeper meaning of what it is, just giving more reasons that why that Samadarshan is so good. And interestingly enough, in Kathopanishad, exactly same thing is happening. I think there is some kind of synchronicity going on between the two for our benefit. I'm just amazed that exact same thing is going on over there. Yeah, anybody has any question, comment, or want to add anything to this whole point?
No, but one thing that I was thinking, and maybe I'm right or wrong, but seeing from God's point of view, why the Lord doesn't do this thing or that, why is he partial to this and that? If the Lord has, that's equal. So for every, it's like a cause and effect, that it takes place according to what you have done. To me, that was important, that I saw some of part of it is in this, because he has an equal vision. Equal vision means that God realization is that you have the equal vision. So you don't see, he doesn't see, when we talk about God as somebody other than you, and we talk about why is he partial, that to me, this also explains to some aspect that, your realization, and how then you see, I guess you see God's point of view or your point of view, because you become the same, and you understand, and there's no partiality as such, but it is just what you have done, and you're going to get the results of those. It's not like he's being partial.
See, the best way to understand it, there are two things we are talking about over here. One is that substratum, and one is the power of it, the Prakriti, Maya, or nature, whatever you want to call it. Nature, all that cause and effect is there. Right? And that's why whatever we do, that's the result we get. So we can't escape that at that level. So the only way to escape that is if you get established in that higher self. So once who get established in the higher self, then he's not going to do any atrocities, but if something negative and all comes his way, he's going to have a samadarshan. He's not going to worry about it. It's like, I don't worry about my dream. That's the only difference. So we have to look at this in a more holistic way, that from the highest perspective there is no difference, but at a Vyahavar level there is a difference, and that's okay. But somebody who's got established in that highest one, for him the life becomes smoother. Then he doesn't become judgmental. He know how to handle. He has a clarity in his head completely. That's why when we were talking about last time that how the saints and sages, whether a criminal comes and sits in his kya bolte hain, sabha, or a very high intellectual, he is going to look at them both the same way. He might talk with the intellectual in a different way and that in a व्यवहारिक, but उसके मन में प्रेम और श्रद्धा और ये सब सभी के लिए सेम ही होगी, because he will see that hey, Bhagwan is in everybody. So that's the kind of thing comes out of this that kind of knowledge and understanding comes out of this verses.
Thanks.
So any other? So we can go to the next one. It is the same theme and a little bit more elaborated, that, what happens and all. That's 19, verse 19. I'm going to just chant. इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गः येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः. Iha is here, eva is even, tai by them, jitaha is conquered, sargaha, rebirth or creation. So when we talk about sarga, we have to think of birth and death together. So because the subtle subject, when they might say one thing, but we have to take it as that. Yesham, of whom, samye in equality, stitam established, manaha is mind, nirdosham जिसमें कोई दोष नहीं हो, स्पॉटलेस. ही इज इंडीड, समम इज इक्वल, ब्रह्म इज ब्रह्मन, तस्मात् देयरफॉर, ब्रह्मणि इन ब्रह्मन, ते इज दे, स्थिताः आर एस्टैब्लिश्ड. So what are they saying over here is they are talking about mind established in samata, means in equal vision with respect to Brahman. And if you remember, in chapter 2, there was a very famous verse where it says, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. He was talking about, that evenness of mind is yoga. Yoga is union with the higher. Evenness of mind. And here that same concept is being opened up a lot more. So basically what is common in all of us is Brahman alone. That's the most common thing among the entire cosmos. And then we know that the Prakriti is different. And Prakriti, we are going to learn more when we actually go to chapter 14, that how these Prakriti is the raw material with which the Prakriti is made of the three gunas. And the combination of the three gunas, different proportion of it creates the variety. And even in our mind, it creates different moods and all that. So it's not like ki bhai jo saint and sages who take birth on this planet and they have the body, they are free from three gunas. No, they are not, but they just become gunatit. They just rise above their gunas. So unko bhi kabhi unko alas bhi aata hai unko, and they have those different things, but they know how to rise above it. Hum log usi mein beh jate hain, So those are some of the points. So Prakriti is the one that is different. And the best example that we have done it so many times, but it's good to bring it up at the right time, so it opens up in our mind what they are talking about. It's about electricity and different bulbs or different equipments. Even that different equipments is even better, because different equipments do exactly opposite things sometimes. You put the electricity in a heater and it gives heat. You put in air conditioner, it gives cool air. There are two opposite things that happen. Or it can be a very sophisticated instrument like our computer, smartphone, or it can be a simple bulb, choti si light. But electricity is the same that is going in all of them, but their equipments are different. So that's what it is. And in the Ramayana, of course, there is a very famous verse in the Dilli Wale Swami. And actually Pratibhaji told me, why do you keep saying Dilli Wale Swami? Why don't you say a name? So his name is Nikhilanandji. So from now on, I'm going to say his name. His name is Nikhilanandji. So Nikhilanandji, reminded everybody that how there is that famous thing, Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana, Prema se Prakat Hoi mein jana. That's the one, huh? And we have heard this, and Meenaji is not here today. Sorry, Meeraji. Meeraji knows about all these chopai. She loves Ramayana, so she would have really enjoyed that. So basically saying that...
I'm here, I'm listening to everything.
Oh, you are on iPhone. Okay, because sometimes...
Yeah. And I'm listening, so...
Okay, great.
Sorry.
So yeah, you have heard of this famous one, right? Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana Prema se Prakat Hoi mein jana. So it's saying that he's everywhere, but with love he gets revealed. And that we have seen, and love and devotion is, every chapter has that part of it, that, that when you are devoted to something, then where results happen, So basically what he's saying is that this person is established in that completely. And once you get established, so you get conquer, sarga means birth and death. What do they exactly mean by it? There is sansar ke chakkar se wo chhoot jata hai. That's one meaning, Because why does that happen? Because his limited personality is dissolved. He doesn't, Nikhilananji gave a very beautiful example of a balloon. He's saying that when we have this balloon release करते हैं ना, कोई function होता है तो किसी का birthday होता है और समझो हमारा 15 अगस्त के time पे they do the tricolor balloons and all. So balloon में हवा होती है, right? ये release करते हैं तो वो हवा is almost like trapped in it. Now it's traveling because it's trapped in that. And then when it goes all the way up, the balloon pops because of the difference in the pressure, and the air becomes part of the whole air. Once it becomes a part of the whole air, it is not separately traveling, is it? When it was in that shell, it was separately traveling. It was going from down to up. But when it became part of it, it stopped traveling separately. It's such a great example he gave. So he's saying we are trapped in this body. Why do we take up the body? Because we have all these desires and vasanas and we want to experience. That's why we come. Somebody has established in that higher self, then he doesn't have to travel in the different janam maran ke chakkar mein, So that's how he becomes free from life and death. So usually it is just my notion that I'm a limited being, and that becomes so strong in us, and these impressions, they just stick with our subtle body, you can say, and that's why we keep coming back and again. So he even said that that's the reason we dream also, because it's like we have certain impressions in our mind. I don't know for sure, but I have heard that self-realized people, they don't even dream because they don't have those impressions. और बोलते हैं ना, ड्रीम में कभी कभी कोई वासना हम लोग रियल लाइफ में नहीं पूरी कर सकते तो ड्रीम में आ जाती है. So, और कोई बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग डिजायर हो, कोई बहुत उड़ना चाहता है तो मैं ड्रीम में उड़ रहा था, पंख निकल आए थे मेरे, just thought. So that's what it is. The dreams are also happen because we have impressions. So but there another very, very important thing which Chinmayananji always stresses about, it's not just janam maran ka chakkar that after my death I will not come back. That is one, that is also true, but the most important is while living, what happens to me. What does this phrase mean that janam maran ke chakkar se chhoot gaya? While I have the body, while this sansar is there in front of me, then I have conquered birth and death, because I don't get affected by the change. Because in the Vedantic sense, change is considered, that chakkar of birth and death. So I don't get affected by the change. When it happens, I have a equanimity in my mind. That's why they have so many times they have used the language like heat and cold, and man apman, and joy and sorrow, because it's talking about body, mind and intellect mein jo variations we feel, that person doesn't get affected. He's equanimous in those. That's what it means. Okay. So and then the other thing that Nikhilananji was explaining, that when we say that mind is established in the sama, what is this sama? So he's saying sama is Brahman itself is sama, because he said that एक Brahman का दूसरा नाम भी sam है. Sam means same. And he said maybe English language maybe word same some से आया होगा शायद. We don't know, but there's so much similarity between sama and same. So because they have used this verse in the this 19th verse में sama use किया हुआ, samam. So that's what he was just telling you, what does samam mean. So he's saying that he brought a very interesting point. He's saying कि हमारे culture और tradition में ये पूरा ingrained है, इसकी समदृष्टि. And he's saying that's why from that perspective anything can be worshipped in India. And we grew up that, right? The ocean ko worship karenge, the birds and animals and mountains and और कुछ नहीं तो stone में they will invoke some whoever their ishta devata, because it's coming from there. He's saying that everything. And then he said that he just gave a drishtanta. He's saying there was one very simple farmer was there, and his guru was teaching him how to meditate upon Brahman. And so he said you should bring the picture of some god or something, saguna usko dikha raha tha, bol raha tha. तो ये आया ट्राई करके अपने गुरु के पास वापस आया और बोला, गुरुजी whenever I sit and I'm trying to imagine Bhagwan, तो मेरे सामने मेरे buffalo की मूर्ति आती है. Murti means picture, because buffalo is like part of my life, you know. I mean, he gives me everything, he helps me. So Guru ने बोला कोई चिंता की बात नहीं है. तो buffalo पे meditate कर, उसको उसकी बड़ी बड़ी आंखें देख, उसका you know all things he helps you. Even that will calm your mind. So he's saying that there is no bar over there that you know you must do this only. Because if you know that God, if you learn that God is in everyone, then you can take anything that inspires you. That's why people sometimes they do it just on Om. Some people say, oh, I don't want any murti, nothing. Fine, do it on Om, because Om is a symbol of that Brahman. And somebody says, no, you know, my Guru is everything to me. Okay, meditate upon the Guru then. See what I'm saying? So, but idea is that Brahma is in is everyone. You are just using it as a means to raise yourself higher. You know, so that's how we. But he's saying, so the Mahatmas are the one that for them any form can, you know, become inspiring. But the ignorant person is the one who's going to start seeing negative things then, you know, in this whole thing. But a Mahatma is not going to see that way, you know. And then the other word, very important word in this verse is nirdosh. Because nirdosh को actual meaning क्या है, जिसमें कुछ दोष नहीं हो, right? उसको निर्दोष बोलते हैं. So let's see how this word has come. That means nothing can contaminate it. Like sunlight, we cannot contaminate even though it touches anything. So we have learned that, now go back to the illusion, the Maya, that the substratum is always the same, but we superimpose on it something. So go back to the example of rope and snake. Okay, what is this cosmos? It is like a snake. Rope is the Brahman. So now think about it. Suppose if there is a rope and I start seeing snake in it, and the snake is very poisonous. In my mind, the snake is very poisonous, and it is spewing all the poison from his mouth. Does that mean the rope will get contaminated by the poison? No. That's where there is talking about the nirdosh word, that kuch bhi hoye sansar mein, that nothing, absolutely, that Brahman is completely nirdosh, no dosh. And the two other examples come to me. You know, the out of 5 elements, the sky. Okay? You can blast a nuclear weapon in the sky. You cannot contaminate the sky. You cannot cut the sky. Nothing happens to the sky. Kitna bhi kharab weather ho, after it passes, the sky is as normal as possible, right? That's one thing. So again, we in the world also we see that example. And the last example, which I like a lot, is the screen and the movie. You can see a most horror movies, and you know इस country में पता नहीं कितनी horror movies होती हैं, या कोई war वाली movie देखो, a lot of bloodshed is happening, people are dying, you know, Mahabharat war, if you 18 days they will show fighting, the blood is spilling in the movie, but is it making the screen contaminated? No, screen is as white as before. Moment movie stops, boom, screen is the same. And if you have a very nice koi spiritual movie ho, जिसमें, you know, Shankar Bhagwan is appearing, you know, Devon ke Dev Mahadev and all that, still the screen is the same. So whether it's some Devta wali movie or it is some war wali movie or some horror movie, nothing happens to the screen. The same principle is with this cosmos. So no matter what kind of body somebody has or mind somebody has or you know, intellect, the Brahman does not get affected. And these people are established in that. That's why their drishti is nirdosh, because the Brahman is nirdosh from the highest perspective. So that's what that word is talking about. Okay?
Umaji, you could take us example of space also, right? Whatever happens to space.
Yeah, when I said sky means I meant space actually. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. When I said no space, because space
Yeah.
you can have a nuclear blast in the space. Yeah. nothing is
Right,
gonna
yeah,
happen to
yeah.
you. Yeah. So that's right. So according to that Nikhilanandji, this is the highest vision. You know, that our culture, our Vedas have given it to us, and in Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita, this is the highest vision that asking you to get established in it. And but he said that we get so fascinated by the material things, all abhi dekho ye sab electronics, the new generation. Oh my God, new phone is coming, I want that, this, that. Okay, great, all that fascination is great, but the grand vision, he's saying, is the greatest gift. All the other things, they are good, and all this, that is the best gift that and then one more thing he said, which was very interesting. He said that it is like science ko dekh lo. One time, atom, this apna, what's his name, the greatest scientist, Einstein, he came up with that theory, right, that atom has so much energy, that equal to mc square and all that. So he's saying atoms were there before also, but you don't know about it. Hey, there's so much power in it. But then scientists came, he and other people and all that, and then it got revealed. And then the technology came also, how to make use of that energy. So now they have the nuclear energy, not just for destruction and all, but we know that they use it for electricity. Nuclear energy is used for a lot of good things also now. So they have learned to harness that and use it. So he's saying that that's how you have to look at this Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is like the knowledge of atom, but practical means how to make use of it is yoga. So when we say, like hey, there's a vidya and there is a method. So yoga is a method, how to make use of this. I thought that was such a nice thing that he explained. So he's saying that our shastras teach you both. They teach you what is that Brahma Vidya, what is that Atma and Paramatma and all that. And they also teach you yoga. So how to release this fantastic knowledge in such a way that, I can understand it. So the conclusion is that to know that I am Brahman and that is Nirdosh, and that's how the realized masters function, to see oneness in everything. They see the outer differences. It's not like they don't see that. They see it, but they know that the real thing is same in everyone. That's the main point in this. Any question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything?
They're saying the yogi, he knows that when your body is dead, there's no emotions. So all these emotions are there only when you're alive. So the yogi knows, even when he's in the body itself, he needs to be emotionless. Like he needs to be calm. He needs to perceive everybody though everything is different, he needs to be, see everybody with equal light.
Yeah, I think that the best way to kind of see that emotions are just, going up and down in our mind. And I think that one example is a very good one, that our mind is also like a, how do I say it? It is part of the Brahman only, because we can reach Brahman through the mind, but mind, look at it like a sky, they say. And the thoughts and emotions are like clouds. So you don't think that what we do is we get caught up in the clouds and we get swayed into it. But if you look at it as a passing thing, and sometimes you may make use of those emotions. Nobody's saying don't you make use of them, use of those emotion or those feelings and all that, but don't think that that is you. That is the main message that they are saying. Don't get swayed into it. And then one technique not to get swayed into it, keep your intellect, wisdom more higher. In a sense, use your wisdom, not your emotions. Because using only emotion can be very dangerous, So use it with the wisdom. Then you can achieve and do things. That's the point. Any other? Okay, so Anilji, you can read now. Verse 19.
Even here, in this world, birth, everything is overcome by those whose minds rest in equality. Brahman is spotless indeed and equal Therefore, they are established in Brahman.
So here in this verse, even here, birth is overcome by those. So birth and death is overcome, and I explained to you that how the change of things, that the person doesn't get affected. That's what it means.
In this stanza, although almost a whole scripture is indicated, in the context of the development of the theme, Lord Krishna had to show, first of all, that the perfection described in the previous few stanzas is not a godly idealism to be experienced after death in a specialized world beyond the clouds called the heavens. All Semitic religions and Puranic Hinduism promise a heavenly existence as the glorious goal of existence and spiritual strife. However, to an intelligent man, this promise is nothing more than a charming hallucination and not a positive gain. Such a vague goal cannot be sufficiently encouraging to coax out of an intelligent man all his enthusiasm and sincerity.
So then we know that अगर बोले वो मरने के बाद तुमको मिलेगा तो कोई बोलेगा why do I care, अभी मेरे को बताओ ना क्या है, means I want it now. I don't want मरने के बाद. And that reminds me, Sadhguru has this really, he always says this nice story. He says that one, they were talking about some Christianity thing that, hey, if you do good stuff, you go to heaven. So then this little boy sitting in the back of the class, he raised his hand, he's saying, but you have to die to go there. So it's like that doesn't appeal to neither young children nor adults, that after death. That's what he's talking about, that hey, Jivan Mukti is, that's what Gita promises, and that's what we also value it.
Contrary to this vague hope, here in Vedanta, the naked truth is declared when Krishna repeats that the rishis had earlier asserted 1,000 times. It is expressly mentioned that the relative existence as a limited ego center can be ended, and the imperfect individual can realize himself to be the infinite Godhead.
I love the massage daddy. I love the massage daddy.
I think this Kamalaji has to mute.
I'm
That's okay. Mm-hmm.
This goal can be reached not only at a post-mortem stage, but also in this very same life, here in this very body, among these very same worldly objects. One can live in the consciousness of God, evolving oneself from the immaturities of one's own deluded ego sense.
So I think giving a lot of hope that they're saying, yes, we can get over this limited existence with ego center, and that can end in this life. That's what is the main thing is they're talking about, that we don't have to wait after death, but while you are living, we can achieve this.
But Umaji, if anybody does it under the delusion that he's doing it for after death, but if he's practicing all those things now for after death experience, he's already changing in this life.
Yeah, true. So what he's saying, that if somebody is that way, fine. But if somebody says, hey, I want it now because I don't care about afterlife, उनके लिए ये sentence बताया गया. If you have the bigger picture and you know everything and all that, fine. Even if you are doing something and I'm going to get good result afterlife, but for those people who say, no, I don't know anything about afterlife, I don't care, मेरे को अभी बताओ. Both ways you can take it.
Who is capable of gaining the ascendancy in himself? What is the secret method by which this consummate self-redemption can be effectively fulfilled? The assertion that man can reach this goal in this very life is supported in the very same first line by a detailed description of how it can be executed and practically lived. It is said that the one whose mind rests in evenness gains the divine tranquility of a God-man.
So he's just saying that वो उनको बोला कि इस लाइफ में भी मिल सकता है और मेथड भी बता दिया कि जिसका माइंड रेस्ट इन इवननेस, that person gets that state of tranquility. Or Jivan Mukta, you can call it.
And I think this is the biggest thing in Upanishad and Geeta, that you don't have to wait. You can start experiencing
Correct. Yeah.
divinity in you right now.
Yeah. अगर जो लोग बोलते हैं ठीक है, I'm becoming a better person in a hope of future, उनको भी अगर आप ये ऑप्शन दोगे तो वो लोग लेंगे ये वाला ऑप्शन बड़े आराम से, बिकॉज बाद में मुझे $1 million मिलेगा, पर अभी मुझे मिल रहा है तो मैं क्यों नहीं लूँ अभी, राइट?
Right.
Yeah, so this is a more attractive thing anyway. Yeah.
Patanjali Yoga Sutra also explains the same fact in different words, where the thought flow, which creates unequal and spasmodic mental fluctuations, is arrested, there the mind ends. Where the mind ends, it being the equipment through which life expresses as a limited ego, this sense of separative existence also ends. I thought this line was amazing, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When the ego has ended, the egocentric thardom of sansar also ends. The ego, thus undressed of its sansaric sorrows, rediscovers itself to be nothing other than the self itself. Unless one comes to this mental equipoise, one is not capable of experiencing the samatvam of the samadarshan described in the above stanza.
So it's just telling you, firstly, is to bringing you to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and the most famous verse in there is Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Sorry, not Samatvam. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That's what it is. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is the most famous of Patanjali, where it's saying that Chitta Vritti is when there is a Vritti, means all the different thoughts of different texture are going on. Nirodh means usko band kar dena. Stop that. So जब वो सब हलचल बंद हो जाती है माइंड में, you know, that is yoga. Or then you get the union with the higher. And the way, so many different ways they explain it, that mind is a flow of thought, and when there is no thoughts in it, there's no mind. And that's when you see the substratum. It's like a नदी बहुत जोर से बह रही है, जब thoughts बहते हैं ना तो जैसे नदी बह रही हो जैसे, और नदी का पानी एकदम रुक के शांत हो जाए और एकदम क्लियर हो, उसमें कोई डर्ट नहीं हो, तो फिर वो नदी का बॉटम दिखेगा ना. That's another way you can look at it. So it's saying रास्ता कोई भी तुम चुन लो, पतंजलि के योग सूत्र से या वेदांत, भक्ति, whatever you want to choose, but the final thing they are talking about is this only, that to get evenness. And I still remember long time ago when I was still trying to study and understand, I didn't know that much, and then one saint came, her name was Neeru Ma करके होती थी, वो आई वहाँ ह्यूस्टन में. And then I said, what is this intellect? I was trying to ask some question, and she said, intellect just cuts everything. Meaning what? It just divides constantly. ये अच्छा है, वो बुरा है, ये आदमी, और ये ऊपर नीचे, anything you call divide. And our yatra is what? Everything is same. So that's why we got to drop the intellect and then go back to the soul. As she explained it so well, because that's the tool that is for survival. But we cannot really use that too much in the end you have to drop that, and that's what they are talking about. And ego is also nothing but your own intellect, because intellect is the one who makes you believe you are separate. That just separation is created, the division is created in this world by our intellect. So he's just saying that when all that is stopped, that's when you will see the evenness. Like sometimes I feel when we meet some people, so immediately we'll ask, आप कहाँ से हो, ये है वो है, वो बोलेगा वो मैं दिल्ली से हूँ, मैं भी दिल्ली से हूँ, मैं कितना मज़ा आता है, लगता है, oh my God, वो भूल जाते हैं कि भाई अगर कोई साउथ से भी आया होगा तो उसमें आत्मा तो वही है. हम लोग इंटेलेक्ट के थ्रू से हमसे डिवीजन करके भेज जाते हैं वो एक and then we become very narrow-minded. My people are the best people, and so that's what it is. That how you have to know that whole picture, and then you will understand.
But tell me, intellect is the deciding factor. Mind is the fluctuating matter, right? So, though ego exists in the intellect, but yet it is needed.
In the beginning, yes, they say. That's why they always say that in the end you have to drop the intellect also. So you come to a point, and then
mind,
you have to
first
drop.
First the mind, because samatvam, to keep it samatvam, the mind. And then the intellect, I guess, does it go away when you realize the intellect also doesn't? Is that the same? I mean, I'm trying to think.
Okay, I think I understand a little bit your question. See, the intellect will be still there as an equipment, but it is a turned off equipment. What our problem is, intellect is on all the time. We don't know how to turn. जैसे बोलते हैं कोई किचन में हम लोग मिक्सी यूज करते हैं लेडीज, राइट? तो वो मिक्सी बोले चालू ही रहे 24 घंटे, दिमाग खराब हो जाएगा. When you need it, you use and shut it up.
But it isn't I thought it was always the mind, because mind is always running, always.
Well, mind is a more dangerous, because mind has emotions, and it is like collecting data. It's at the lower level, true. Intellect. But that's why you see,